Hi everybody, it's Terry Schultz, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator coming to you from Aledo, Texas, and I am excited to be stamping with you today. It's been a little while since I've been doing any stamping. I've been playing today and I've been having lots of fun with some of my new stamps. I want to show you a technique today, and I'm using kind of an older stamp that was new last year, but I actually didn't get it last year until the very end of the catalog last year, just before this annual catalog went live, and so I hadn't really played with it very much, although it's been a very popular stamp set, and that's Good Morning Magnolia, and it is a 2-box or whatever stamp set, so it's got lots of stamps. This one's really big. We're going to use this image today and this one, and I'm going to show you a technique that I had in my mind that I've been wanting to try. So we're also using the dies that go along with this stamp set, and these are some really great dies. We're really just using this one from this set of dies, and we're making this card. Isn't this beautiful? So the colors we're using are just Jade and Petal Pink and Very Vanilla, and I just think this card turned out really cool. And the technique I wanted to show you is this partial die cutting technique, so I decided to try that with this since it's kind of a big die. So I thought it would work well with it, and I do like how it turned out really well. So we're going to start with, I don't want to lose track of this little piece right here. We're going to start with a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock. And I've already folded it, as you can see, but it is 5.5 by 8.5. And I just folded it in half. But to do this technique, I am putting the die like right about here so that it kind of comes up to the edge of the cardstock, and then I'm gonna kind of tape this down so that it stays where I want it. And I'm just using this purple tape. It's just like masking tape, so just like that. Now I'm gonna bring in my die cutting machine, and I don't usually do my die cutting on this table, but I wanted to show you how to set this up. So you have your bottom plate, your platform and your bottom plate, and what you want to do is you want the part that you're going to cut, only that part, to be on the plate, and then the rest of it that won't cut will be off. So we're going to kind of set this so that from like this tip here to this tip here are not on the plate. So, and we kind of want it to be straight, so we're going to try to make sure it's even. And then you put your top plate on top of it, and you run it through your die cutting machine. So I think that's about where I wanted it, and so I'm just going to run that through, and it will only cut the part that has the plate under it. So let's take a look at that, and I will set this back over here. Now there's one more thing you're gonna have to do to get that off. So as you can see, you've got that piece there, but that looks really good, I think. So then what I did was I took my trimmer and I just placed this kind of where those two hit the little groove there, and then I just cut down to where that meets it, and then I'm gonna come down here and go up to where this one meets where it die cut, and then you should be able to pull that off. Yeah, so then you have your cut piece like that. I just love how that turned out. So that's one part. But I was going to stamp it on here, but then I decided I wanted a little bit of dimension. So what I decided to do is stamp the image, which I have here, on a scrap piece of Very Vanilla. So I'm gonna, not sure really where that's gonna, needs to be over more. So how have you all been? I haven't been in my scrapbook room for a little while. We've just been, you know, busy with life and things. So you don't want to get those two magnets real close together because they will break because they're very strong magnets. So there we go. Just going to pull that down a little bit. So I've got some room at the bottom for some scrap. It is August 15th, and I live in Aledo, Texas, which is south or west of Fort Worth. So I'm in North Texas, and it is hot. Yesterday it was like 107, and today it's supposed to be 105, and it's just hot. And you would think, you know, it's middle of August, you know, you'll get into November and it'll cool down, because that's how it is in the normal parts of the country. But September is my least favorite month in Texas because it doesn't cool down. It's still in the 90s. And you think it should be cool, and it's not. It's in the 90s, which is very irritating. So I'm just stamping this with my Stamparatus, partly because this is such a big stamp that I wanted to make sure that I could stamp it. The only block it fits on is a gigantic block, and I didn't want to use that. So I'm using Memento ink, and I think there's just one or two spots here. I want to make sure I'm getting good coverage on. So just do that a little. And that's another reason I like the Stamparatus, because you can re-stamp your image right over where you had it the first time. Now I'm going to cut this one out, and I'm going to wipe off my stamp so I don't forget. And I just have a chamois here that I cut in half that I use to clean the stamps on my Stamparatus. And the Stamparatus is really awesome for making multiple cards, or for stamping these large images like this, or whatever. If you want to get something precise, it's really great for helping you do that. So I'm going to set that aside, and I am going to cut out this image. So I'm just going to put this die right over here, and I'm going to tape it down with my purple tape again so it stays in place. And make sure I get that on there good. There, that looks good. So I'll be right back. Okay, so there we go. And that purple tape doesn't stick. It's just like masking tape, so it's really nice. So there we go. We have that cut out, and I'm going to put this back into the holder with this so I don't lose it, because I will lose it. It will get lost, and then I won't know what I've done with it. So we'll just do that. And I like to put my dies on a magnet so that I can see them, so I know what's in my package. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color this using my Stampin' Blends, and these are alcohol based, and I'm using just Jade for the leaves, and I'm just going to put a little bit. I'm starting with a dark. I like to start with the dark and put a little bit of dark down, and I'm not really good at leaves, I've discovered, so I'm just going to put some dark lines down and then blend it with the light. And I think I missed some on the stamp here, but I think it's going to be okay. So I love the blends because they really help with shading and make you look like a really good artist, even when you're not. I've seen some people who do just beautiful things with these. I am not somebody who colors well, so coloring has never been my thing, or art, but I like to play with paper and stamps, and I can make pretty things that way. So, but the wonderful thing about the blends is that they make it so easy to blend that you look like you are a good artist. So I took the dark Just Jade, and now I'm taking the light Just Jade, and I'm using the more brush-like end for this one, and I'm just gonna kind of color in the rest of it, and then I'm gonna go back in with my dark to put in some more shading and blend it so that it maybe looks a little bit more natural, but we'll see. So I love magnolias. We have a big magnolia tree in our front by our house. We've lived in this house 10 years, so it was small when we moved in, but it's gotten pretty big, and the magnolias are so pretty, and they smell good. So, and the leaves are just so thick, and magnolias are so pretty. So I really love having that magnolia tree in our yard, and so I'm really happy we have this stamp set with the magnolias, because I can make pretty cards with magnolias now. So I'm just gonna, and these are gonna blend themselves really because they're alcohol based, so they're kind of gonna just do their own blending. And you can keep coloring over them, and you know, if you don't like it, you can keep fussing with it, and actually I think it just still turns out good because it's just the alcohol based. You just blend it out like that, and then it'll soften up on its own. And I just love the way these blends work. So, but I'm not really good with leaves. And then I am taking the dark Petal pink, and I think I'm going to use the brush end here, and I'm just going to do a little bit here in the middle of the magnolia. On my sample, I think got a little bit carried away with my dark Petal pink. So just gonna put a little bit more in the middle here, and then I'm gonna go to my light Petal pink and pull out some of that. I'm not trying to get the whole magnolia colored because they are pretty white, or even vanilla looking, but they can get some, because the middle of them is kind of not really pink, it's kind of a brownish, but it can kind of stain the middle part of them kind of pinkish. So I'm just putting a little bit of light. And Petal pink is a really light pink color, so I think it looks really good. And then one more color. I have crumb cake that I'm using for the stem right here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the dark down, and then I'm going to color that in with the light and let that kind of blend, just so we've got kind of a dark stem. All right, now the next thing I'm going to do is, you see I have a sheet here. This is from the In Color pattern paper. So this is the 2020 to 2022 In Colors, the new ones, and Just Jade is one of those colors. And so it's just a pack of pattern paper in all of those In Colors, and all the patterns are the same. And so I'm using this one, I've already cut the piece that looks a little bit woody, and I put that just right here along this because it's got that open end with the partial die cut. So I'm gonna cut that. Oh, before I do that, that's what I forgot last time, is I'm gonna stamp this little Magnolia bloom in Memento, Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and I'm gonna come in and do it right about here so that the pattern paper will cover it partially. So I'm going to clean this off, and I'm just using my chamois, and you just get it wet with water and it just cleans off your stamps. Oop, there you are, very nicely. So now I am going to glue this down. I like to use the liquid glue. We do have some new adhesives, Seal and Seal Plus, and I do have some. I just really like to use the liquid glue because you can position things. You got a little bit of time to get things positioned. So see, that peeks out from behind there a little bit, and I like how that looks. And then before I put this flower onto here, I've got a piece of Petal Pink, and I have embossed it with the Scripty embossing folder. So it's just got like a little script on there, and I think that looks really pretty on there. I had it plain, and I decided it needed something a little bit more behind it, and I really like how this Scripty embossing folder works with it. I think it really matches the Magnolia and everything. So I have cut this to, it's 5 3/8 by, I think it's 2 3/8, but I'll get the dimensions for you. They'll be in my blog. And then I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals, and I'm going to put quite a few dimensionals on here just to make sure it's good and stuck on there and popped up nicely and not sagging anywhere. I like to pop things up. I think they really make things pop. So yeah, so it's August 15th, and I don't know how school is working where you all are. Our school district where I live in Aledo, Texas, which is a small town, it's kind of a big school district. Our school is one of the bigger ones. School is starting next Wednesday, August 19th, and I think I don't have kids in school. My kids are all grown. My daughter graduated from Aledo High School 3 years ago. So, but I have friends who have kids who go to Aledo schools and neighbors, and they are starting Wednesday, I think, for some period of time, at least 2 weeks. They have the choice of going in person or online. Some school districts in the area are going online, either fully online for longer or online, partial online longer. So, but we are going, we start on Wednesday and going at least partial online for some of the time. So, and then our football season is starting a month late. So we would have started practice already on the 3rd, and we would have had our first game on August 29th, 28th, 29th, 28th, that last Friday in August. But because we're a 5A, Texas has 1A through 5A, or 6A classes, 5A and 6A schools, their seasons were delayed. So we are delayed. So we don't start practice until September 7th. And then our first game isn't until September 25th. So, and they'll be streaming the games. They're only gonna have half capacity in the stadium, and really mainly that'll be for the parents of the kids. So we will watch the streaming. So now what I'm doing is I'm stamping my sentiment, and it's the sentiment hello, and I'm just stamping that in the Memento black ink, Tuxedo black Memento ink, and I'm going to clean that off. And that is also from the Magnolia stamp set. And then I'm cutting it out with this little frame that is part of the Stitch So Sweetly dies, which I love these dies. These are amazing dies. They're so versatile. You can mat all these together, or like two of them together, or however you want to do it. But they go with this So Sentimental stamp set with these big sentiments, which are awesome. And this is just a really awesome bundle. So, but I'm going to cut this out, and I will be right back. Okay, so I just love how that cuts out. It's got the little stitching around it and the little scalloped edges. It's so pretty. So I'm just going to pop this up right here. What do I do with my dimensionals? Here they are. And I'm just putting 2 on here. Just like that. And so how are you guys? Are you spending time crafting these days? How are you getting together with friends? I really miss getting together with people and crafting and making cards. I've been thinking about ways to maybe have classes, and maybe if you were interested in hosting a class, we could talk about doing it on Facebook Live, and I could send kits to all of your friends who would attend the class, and catalogs, and then we would have the class on a Facebook Live, and then your friends could order from your crafting party, and I could put in the orders, and I think that would work really well. So if you're interested in hosting a class and being a host, gather some friends, and we will set it up and do it on Facebook Live, and I will mail out the kits to everybody, and we'll have the party, set a date for the party, and I think that would be a really fun way to connect with everyone. So here's our card. I think it's really pretty. I love how that partial die cutting technique worked out. I just think that's really a great technique with this Magnolia die, and it would work with other dies that are kind of large like this, that you could kind of put along the edge, and it's really easy to do, and really fun. So thanks for stamping along with me today, and I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you next time. Bye.